Well, howdy do. It's a delight to see you. Be sure to stick around, because I've got a new theory about our favorite toyish Timmy. Over the past few months on the Empire's SMP, Solidarity has seen no end to the constant toy jokes from others on the server. From Sheriff action figures sold at Joel's toy barn, to massive Toy Story wallpaper wrapped around Tumbletown, to players such as Fwip and Joel stealing his cowboy hat. It doesn't look like any of the Emperors are going to be coming up with any new jokes anytime soon. I mean, as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Anyways, while we have had dozens of theories in the past about Solidarity, about things like him being a villain or him wearing a magic hat, I don't think there's anyone theorizing that Jimmy is a toy. We've all kind of accepted that as a fact at this point, but Jimmy hasn't. He's still keen that he is, without a doubt, a human being, despite the insurmountable evidence that he really is an action figure. If you recall, not only does Jimmy have a horse named Bullseye, but he's also hiding a pull string in the Tumbletown mines that he is pretending like doesn't exist. Not to mention that he has been splashed by a law potion not once, but twice at this point, turning our beloved sheriff into his true self, a teensy tiny woody doll.
Can I just splash it on you quickly? Well, you didn't even give me a chance to...
Look at that!
What?
You've been lured!
But I'm not here to poke fun at the sheriff like everyone else. You see, I believe there is a valuable lesson to be had if my theory turns out to be true. A lesson in self-acceptance. And it's kind of beautiful if you think about it. So, hear me out on this one. After the hermits came through the rift and traveled to the world of empires, Jimmy's stress only doubled. You see, Jimmy's biggest bully isn't Fwip and Joel. No, not in the slightest. That title actually belongs to the mischievous Hermit Green, who has become infamous for messing around Jimmy during his live streams.
Green says, be there in a minute, just organising my tie.
Yeah, I won't be long. I just need to put my ties in colour order.
In one of the biggest "why do I hear boss music" moments in the history of Minecraft, Solidarity was shocked to see Green enter the world of Empires and threatened to mess with Jimmy even more during his Empires live streams. Thanks to Green messing around with the rift, there were now twice the number of players on the server, functionally doubling the group size of the people in on the Jimmy is a toy joke, as seen when the hermits joined the Emperors to prank Jimmy with a Toy Story themed surprise costume party for Halloween. Despite what everybody else is doing, Good Times with Scar, generally one of the purest hermits of them all, tried his best not to hop aboard the Jimmy's in fact a toy train like everybody else. Instead, the hermit decided that he would befriend the old cowpoke and settle within the Empire of Tumbletown, where, ironically enough, he built a steam train as a starter home. Scar has since done something that nobody else has done. On 2 separate occasions, he sat down with Jimmy and tried to talk with him about his feelings about this whole toy situation. Scar told Jimmy that there was nothing wrong with comparing himself to Woody from Toy Story, as Woody is actually a hard-working sheriff who everyone respects. Scar also reminded Jimmy that, although he's not saying Jimmy is a toy, doesn't see anything wrong with Jimmy even if that were the case. Scar sees Woody's status as a toy only as a profession and by no means something that defines him entirely. Of course, Jimmy was initially enraged by Scar's claims, but he later agreed that he would at least think about it. This leads me to believe that over time, Jimmy's character arc will follow him accepting himself for who he really is. For the most time on the SMP, the sheriff has been in constant denial that he's a toy. However, after making his first real friend through Good Times with Scar, who encouraged Jim to embrace who he really is, he finally opened up enough to at least consider what Scar was saying. But that's not the only evidence that Jimmy is starting to accept himself as the toy he really is. For example, after Joel constructed the massive Andy's wallpaper around Tumbletown, Jimmy swore that he would tear it down as soon as he was able. However, the wallpaper remained up for much longer than any of us could have expected. When Jimmy finally did go tear it down, he was confronted by Pixel Riffs, who, as the man who likes to preserve history and artistic integrity on the server, urged for Solidarity to leave the wallpaper standing. But if you know Jimmy, he is not generally one who allows an excuse like that to keep him from protecting his reputation as a human being. If Jimmy was still keen on the fact that he was not a toy, he would have likely ignored Pixelriff's request and torn Joel's walls down immediately. I believe that Jimmy really wanted to keep the walls up because he liked the way it looked, surrounding his builds, and maybe they even reminded him a little bit of home. Although he was embarrassed to keep them up because by doing so, Jimmy would be technically admitting that he was in fact a toy. When Pixelriffs told the sheriff that he was required to keep the walls up, Jimmy was quick to listen to the archaeologist because it gave the sheriff the perfect excuse to leave the beloved wallpaper up on display. But that's not the only evidence for this theory. You see, in episode 21 of his series, Jimmy made fun of B-dubs for being slightly shorter than the rest of the hermits after B-dubs went through Grian's hermit shrinking machine. In response to Jimmy's joking against the hermit, Mythical Sausage splashed Jimmy with a potion of law, a potion designed to reveal the true nature of whatever it comes into contact with. For the second time this season, the hermits and emperors seized the opportunity to make fun of Toy's Timmy yet again, and Timmy admitted that he had no idea how to turn back to his original size.
Someone may have chucked a law potion on me again, second time, and I actually can't turn back. They haven't told me how to revert back, and now I'm stuck this small. I'm not joking.
But wait, that doesn't make a lot of sense. How could Jimmy not remember how to revert back to his original size? If you recall, the first time Jimmy was splashed with a potion of law by Joel and shrunken down to his toyish size, then you might remember how Smallish Beans gave Jimmy an apple of lying, a magic apple designed to hide the truth. A fact that Jimmy directly acknowledged when he reacted to our previous Jimmy is a Toy Confirmed video on this very channel.
I didn't know it was an apple of lying. What? I didn't know I ate that apple of lying.
So, could it be possible that Jimmy does know how to turn himself back to his human form, but he's just pretending that he doesn't know how? Just like with the wallpapers around Tumbletown, Jimmy might be pretending to not know how to change back, just so that he has the perfect excuse to remain in his toy form. In fact, throughout the rest of his 21st episode, the sheriff makes no attempts to learn how to change back to his human form. I wouldn't even be surprised if he remained this way for the rest of the season. I believe this is Jimmy finally starting to embrace the reality that he is a toy, but he's just too afraid to admit it because it would fuel the jokes even more. So here's where the self-acceptance starts to kick in. Sheriff Jimmy has faced his biggest insecurity head on this season, and he has been in constant denial of that truth. However, I think Jimmy is starting to get a little bit more realistic with himself, which in turn is allowing the sheriff to truly embrace the good qualities that come with being a toy. Being a toy can be a great thing. Toys brighten people's days, make kids smile, and inspire the imagination. Further, as Scar has said, being compared to Woody can actually be taken as a compliment. Sheriff Woody is heroic and has a heart for those in need, and nearly every toy in Andy's bedroom trusts Woody as their faithful leader. And of all the toys in Andy's toy box, you have to remember that, along with Buzz Lightyear, Woody was one of his absolute favorites. You are a toy solidarity. That is nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, you should be proud to call yourself a toy and not let anyone push you around because of it. And you should know that you always have a friend in me.